Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Ghettofabulous Kings of War. This is the second pickup game I had a couple weeks ago in October here, and so it'll be a little bit streamlined. I have the same list, obviously, that I had earlier, with the same rationale behind it, basically trying to make something resilient that could weather the larger than normal amounts of shooting I'd been seeing in the area. And also be able to pretty well take charges from Alpha Strike type armies and then hit back hard. So the Earth Elementals kind of absorb damage, the Fire Elementals do a little of both, damage and absorbing it, and then the Centaurs hordes, they can hit hard, and they can also take a decent amount of damage. They got plenty of heal as well. And Surge, I'm not familiar with. I've never really played a Surge army before, so something experimental for me. The battle is Smoke and Mirrors, which is the one where you place tokens. I think it's Smoke and Mirrors. You place tokens. One is a 2-point objective, 2 or 1-point objectives, and then I think there are 3, or maybe 2 0-point objectives that get revealed at the bottom of turn 3. My opponent's list. He's a local. I've played him many times before. This is pretty similar to what he normally has, and it's kind of what I was basing my army list on, facing. A decent amount of shooting between some wizard, Nimue, who I haven't seen before. It's an unfamiliar one to me. He's got 2 wizards on mounts that ride around with lightning, and one of them has Alchemist Curse. He's got an Ogre Warlock that's allied in that also has lightning, so decent amount of range there, along with the 2 regiments of Gladestalker, so a lot of shooting. And then between the 2 hordes of Draken Riders, the horde of Ogre Siegebreakers, and the regiment of Stormwind Cavalry with the Quicksilver upgrade and the Potion of Strength, he's got some pretty hard beatstick hammer units as well. So, and fast ones. So he's got, again, the Alpha Strike. He's got a lot of small, cheap regiments to score, and he's got shooting to clear things off. The terrain, a little more open, less terrain than my previous battlefield. I think overall, if I get to pick sides, I would take the bottom half, just so because that tower won't be obstructing my movement, and it'll make easier lanes for me to charge through. Also, that hill that's on the right side, kind of more towards the middle, I could use to maybe screen. Most of everything I have is the same height or lower than the hill, so he could use that to kind of hide behind, and then if he moves up on the hill, we could charge him, theoretically. So, based on the lists in the scenario, my goal is to place all of my scoring objectives close together, probably on an edge in a corner, so it's easier to grab. That might be because I usually played a trash goblin list with lots and lots of units, and I could just run a regiment or 2 up to hold it, and then just try to stall the game through to win that way. This is a different army with no really cheap expendable units, and everything's kind of involved. So that may not be the best plan for this kind of army. He has a lot of shooting, but hopefully I'm tough enough and have enough heal to weather the shooting that he has, and I can focus on killing his more dangerous units, the Draken Riders, the Cavalry, and the Ogres, and I can maybe ignore the rest. Between the little bit of shooting and some chump elf units, little regiments, I don't think they can hurt my defense 5 and defense 6 stuff very well. And I have to be a little careful about the Centaur hordes, even though they've got a lot of health. They're only defense 4. And he's got enough shooting with all those lightning bolts and arrows that if I set them too far forward to kind of project and not clear the board, but at least kind of zone out the enemy, they could get shot up pretty well and might be hard for me to heal. So I have to hold them back more as a counter-charge response force. So here's how deployment ended up. And you can see where my 3 scoring tokens are in the corner right across from me and unopposed. So part of me is thinking that's great. They'll be easy to grab. Although even at the time, I was kind of wondering, well, what am I going to grab them with? Maybe a regiment or two of Earth Elementals, but they're not big enough to actually grab multiple tokens. So I have to use one of the hordes of cavalry, but they're going to need to be involved in the fighting. So it wasn't the best, maybe not the best thought out plan. So his tokens, obviously, I don't know which ones are scoring. I'm assuming the 3 on the right. And if that's the case, that would be the worst case scenario, and that's fine. If I can grab my 3 for 4 points, he grabs the 2 most rightward ones, and as long as I can contest or hold him off from the middle point, I should get the victory, right? So it seems like that the game plan is going to focus on that middle token or objective. So really, what my goal is to take my main line there and just kind of pivot and wheel around, and maybe hold off the enemy. I can, again, like I mentioned, use that hill to protect me for a turn or 2 against charges and make him step up on it. There's no reason for me to go over there, really. And if he walks onto it, then I can maybe charge him. And then this back horde here of centaurs can move up into the middle of my line in the back and then countercharge wherever holes appear. That's the thought process, at least. I won the roll-off. I gave it to him. Between his scout moves and then his regular move first turn, he actually flew up the board pretty quickly. And you can see he's got the Draken Riders here. He's got the Siege Breakers in the back. These are regular Elf Warriors. These are regular Elf Warriors. The 2 units with trees are his Stalkers. And his Cavalry, Argus, I think his name is, his character. He just kind of moves around and inspires. And then these 2 wizards. I'm not sure, he's got his little flying wizard person in here somewhere too, I think. In mine, I guess I didn't talk it through, but you can see the fire elementals, these hordes, the 4 regiments of earth elementals, the supporting characters kind of spaced along, and then again, I've just like last report I mentioned it, I've got the centaurs are being proxied right now by my 2 hordes of Fleabag Riders on the very far side. So his shooting was actually pretty effective. He put 9 wounds onto my Earth Elemental Regiment here, which, they're -15, so it's not terribly likely, but that was kind of a theme throughout this game. I just noticed that, that he needs a 9, but he rolls it once. Suddenly I'm like, oh man, he could snipe somebody off right away. And there are lots of nerve-wracking rolls where, it's an 8 or a 9, and I was kind of anticipating it not being so stressful. But there were a lot of stress-filled rolls, at least for me. But 6 and 1, because this Gladestalker regiment couldn't see the Earth Elementals, so they planked off some shots at the Fire Elementals. On my turn, we kind of executed the plan, moved up over here and started pivoting to the center. I didn't move him here. I kind of moved him straight across so that these guys moved up so much more quickly than I anticipated. I wanted to get them over here faster and make sure I had open lines of sight right away. Because if they'd moved from where they were towards this tree here, this forest, they would have been completely blocked and they might not have been able to charge next turn if something flew in, right? So that's, yep. And I healed off most of the wounds. I focused on the Earth Elementals. I did not completely heal them, and the Fire Elementals kept their 1. Not a incredibly action-filled turn, but I'm just kind of prepping for the inevitable. And the inevitable comes in, as it inevitably needs to. So he's got the Draken Riders horde that charges into my Fire Elementals. And then the Gladestalkers here. I was kind of surprised I actually took this, but maybe he just wanted to chaff up my chaff. I don't think he was anticipating killing these guys, but he probably wasn't worried about them hitting back. So In some ways, maybe it's not a high-risk move, but the stalkers here charge into the earth elementals, and everything else just kind of keeps moving and positioning around. You can see here 5 wounds on these earth elementals. So between the 2 wizards here, I think this one has Alchemist's Curse. They put 5 wounds on them, which is a decent amount of shooting. Or yeah, wounds for these guys. 9 wounds on this fire elemental horde, but they tank it and they're fine. 7 wounds. Again, a couple of those were from the shooting last turn that didn't get healed, but that's still quite a bit. And he flew his special character here in. She flew in, landed, used Cloak of Death, and put 1 wound on everybody. And then I think she fireballed maybe this unicorn here, trying to knock it out, but failed to do so. So a lot of wounds, but nothing routes. So that's good news for me. Now it's time for the counterattack. And the counterattack is interesting. So like this center horde here of Draken Riders, part of me thinks you can do a triple charge. You know, these earth elementals go into the flank and these guys move over. But as I understand the rules, if I move the earth elementals first, they're supposed to center up and then be overlapping, which would block these fire elementals from fitting in. Because when you make your charge move, you don't move to make room for the subsequent people. You just move to the position where you're supposed to be. I think it's always a little confusing. I've never been super happy with some of the charge rules. So instead, I played it safe, just had these earth elementals sidestep to the left. I had these guys withdraw and sidestep to the right, and then these fire elementals moved up. And because I have the Gladestalker Druid, Glade Walker, who can surge 2 units, I just surged both of these fire elementals into this Dragon Horde, which I figured would be enough to kill it. The regiment of earth elementals obviously going to punch the Gladestalkers back. And then this little character was actually kind of an annoying problem. I didn't really have anything to hit her with except for these fire elementals, which should be able to kill her. But if they charge and fail, they're going to be exposed in their flank to these guys, which, again, they're not the most powerful, but it's going to be, 24 attacks, hitting on 3s is elite if he charges in. And he might charge in with these guys, too. I don't know. So, because they have nimble, they're going to be wounding on 2s, anything they charge. So, yeah. Not sure what. But in the end, I can't let those characters fly around, Cloak of Death, and fireball people. So, we charge in with the fire elementals. They do 9 wounds. She's 12-14, and we waver her. So that's great. Just 3 wounds on these Gladestalkers, so not a lot there, but we do wipe out the horde of Draken Riders. And we've got everything set up to face the next little wave that comes in. I think overall we're in pretty good shape, but we'll see what the counterattack looks like. And the counterattack, so combo charge into my earth elementals, the regular elf warriors and the Gladestalkers. He does take this flank charge into my fire elementals, and then the cavalry, the nimble heavy cavalry on the hill, charges over and hits the fire elementals here. Actually, in some ways, I'm kind of surprised he didn't. Well, I mean, I guess if he charged in with these Draken Riders here, if he didn't kill these fire elementals, he'd just get swarmed again. So he went in piecemeal and had some people in reserve waiting, I guess. And it's at this point I'm starting to wonder how I'm going to be able to hold my objectives over here because these guys are going to, I'm sure this unit's going to have to come in here to help out. Just trading units back and forth, they're going to be required. And I don't know how I'm going to charge in, kill stuff, and get all the way back here again. So hopefully he presses the issue quickly so I can get it resolved. So he does kill the Earth Elemental Regiment. He does kill this Fire Elemental Regiment that's been flanked. He rolls Snake Eyes, does 14 wounds on these guys, but he rolls Snake Eyes, which is a blessing because if he had killed these guys, I would have had some major problems, I think. It's already bad, but this is a critical survival that will help me with this game, I think. So, not a big surprise, but now since he failed here, I can flank charge over here with the fire elementals, countercharge in the front, and that'll be more than enough to kill these guys. I charge I still have to kill this thing, right? So I charge a unicorn into this individual to kill it. Hopefully that'll knock it out. And anything else? Nope. This is the only photo I really have. There's still kind of a standoff on the left side here. We do kill this elf regiment of cavalry, and I do finish off this character as well. We reform to try to get flanked over here, but we know there's going to be a lot of pain coming regardless. I do heal it down. You saw they were at like 14, and they're down to 8 wounds now, but that's probably not going to be enough to let them survive whatever's coming next. So before he decides he kind of needs to try to take these guys out. This is a big ask for the Draken Rider horde here. These guys are 21, 23, I think, nerve. But, I mean, it's a chance. He's got to go for something. So he charges them. The Siege Breakers charge into here. Double charge into the Fire Elementals. And these Gladestalkers charge one of my unicorns. Yeah, maybe this is where... So as we get further along, when we get to the end, I must have missed a turn. Something didn't quite work out right timing-wise. And maybe this is where. We'll get back to that. But put that in your memories, because I remember these unicorns are both up here, right? I just killed that character, and now the photos have them down here. So something may have been awry. Regardless, that's where the charges go. And at the end of combat, what do we have? Fire Elementals actually took this charge from the Siege Breakers pretty well. They survive. Looks like 10 wounds. They're not happy, but they did survive. The Centaur Horde survives a charge here. The Fire Elementals do not survive this double charge here, though. The Unicorn is wavered, but that's okay. We can work with that. So we countercharge here. My first, I don't want to say super shenanigan-y surge, wasn't that creative, but I pivot all the way around and I get surged into the rear with these earth elementals. So these guys should be dead. I countercharge here, and these guys were in the front arc as well, so they just have enough room to charge both into these Siege Breakers. And then the cavalry comes in, and they hopefully will wipe out this regiment in the middle. And I think, realistically, I think he'll take this flank charge here with this elf unit into the fire elementals. But here, even if he does double charge with both these units into these centaurs, I think they can survive and take it and just trade back and forth. I think. We'll see if it actually comes to that. And so we do kill the Draken Riders, and I think at this point it's like, if I want to hold these objectives, I have to turn around. I've killed the Draken Riders. Now these guys have to go back and hold. These guys keep facing this way as well, because they're going to walk up and capture the third objective. This guy's big enough to hold 2. The Earth Elementals will hold 1, and that will give us all 4 points over here. We do 6 wounds to the Siege Breakers. With Brutal from the Earth Elementals, we roll well enough to waver them, which is good. that may be important. And I do kill this Gladestalker unit here. So things are looking pretty good. Turn 5. Since these guys are wavered, they step back, but they stay within range of the objective. As I suspected, the Elves here do take this flank charge. These guys are still pretty heavily wounded. And that means just 1 regiment will charge into my horde here, which is not going to be enough to break them. I think they do a little bit of, must have healed these guys up. I healed them up so that he wouldn't be able to shoot them off as they run over to try to grab the objectives. I figured that was more important than trying to heal up over here. We'll see if that was a good choice. Anything else? Yep. So the flank fire elementals do get wiped out. Everyone else does fine. A couple wounds on the earth elementals from some magic. These guys take a handful of wounds, but not a big deal. And then, this is where it gets weird. This is the last photo I have, and I think we were under the impression it was turn 6. This is the bottom of 6. I don't know if that's correct or not. Again, there's a little bit of weird stuff earlier on, and actually if you're watching, the tokens got revealed on the photos at the beginning of what I had as turn 3, but they're supposed to be at the bottom of turn 3, so may have just lost track. Either way, to me, I'm thinking this is turn 6. So instead of countercharging this regiment of elves here with my horde, which it isn't important necessarily, I have them sidestep so that they're close enough to contest this objective. Same here, the earth elementals shift over to contest it, and if it goes to turn 7, to protect the flank from these ogres trying to come in. Because it doesn't matter. And if it goes to a turn 7, these guys should be able to survive another charge from them. They're all healed up. So I'm just trying to contest this, and I've moved far enough over here that I've got my 3 objectives. He had to move his warlock over to capture this one, and he's got the little elf regiment on the far objective. So he's got 2 points right now. I've got 4, and this is the one that we're just trying to hold. And per our tracking, we rolled, there was no turn 7, so the game ended at that point. If for whatever reason it was turn 5, there was going to be another turn, or if I had known that was the case, if I had known this was turn 5, I would have just charged here. I would have charged these Glade Stalkers. I probably would have killed them, and then I would have, I'm not sure what I would have done, because reforming would have been difficult with both of these guys here, and I might have tried to charge the earth elementals into here somehow. I don't know if I could have hit the ogres right away, but I could have charged through him, hit this individual maybe, and then if I killed it, overrun, which I probably wouldn't, just to get the earth elementals in the way. And then the centaurs have an option of charging this elf unit on turn 6, and they'd be enough to, they have 3 unit strength of 4 to their 3, so I could have out-contested here, or I could have charged over here and just killed this warlock, and then prevented them from gathering this one, and probably holding it myself. So I think I was still in pretty good shape overall. I probably would have lost these earth elementals, but in the end I would have killed some other stuff. So I think either way I was in pretty good shape, but this is how it ended in our retelling of the story. So victory, my 4 victory points in the upper left versus his 2 victory points in the lower right. So a lot of these lessons learned are the same ones from my previous battle report, because many of the lessons are the same, right? The first one is kind of new, though. I've played enough with my previous army that my brain automatically thinks of strategies based off of that, right? Put my objectives away from the main fighting, put some worthless unit over there to hold it, and then stall the enemy out and win by objectives, which is not a great tournament strategy. I mean, I can get wins, but they're not like the overwhelming wins that get a lot of points. And when I do lose, I usually lose by a lot. This army needs something different. I now have beat sticks that need to get in there and kill. I don't have a lot of expendable units I can just throw away to sit an objective. So I got to think that through and get better at analyzing the situation, making a new game plan. Just like the last time, I didn't surge much. I'm not used to it, and the units are not very supportive. I think I need to get a couple greater fire elementals to really utilize their small square base to get flank charges. This is the same comment from last time as well, but you could see it was true. The centaurs are clunky. They are hard to fit in sometimes. They can take a lot of damage, and they can hit hard, so I'm happy with them. The fire elementals are similar to the trolls in my goblin army. The trolls' biggest issue was that they can be wavered easily, which you can mitigate, but you can't completely eradicate. The fire elementals don't have that problem. The trolls hit okay, consistently put out 6-ish wounds a turn. The fire element, it's not enough, right? It's not a lot. The fire elementals are better, but not much better. And ultimately, I think this army needs a bit more punch because it doesn't kill things right away sometimes, and it's kind of important to kill. I was very happy, just like last time, with the Earth Elemental regiments. They're 130 points, I think. They do damage, they hold the enemy up, they grab objectives, they're just great. I was expecting, like I mentioned earlier, that the elementals would make things a little less nerve-wracking with rolls, but it's worse. I care about all of these units as opposed to the goblin regiment that I'm expecting to die, and then I get lucky and they survive. This time I'm hoping the Earth Elemental regiments, they have to survive. And every time I've got like 7 wounds or 8 wounds, it's like, it's close. So yeah, I think ultimately I may need to reduce the healing in the army a little bit, maybe take off some items, maybe downgrade from a unicorn to a glade walker druid, just to save some points and maybe put a little bit more into my punch, my offensive output, maybe through items or something. And I was kind of surprised. I mean, with enough firepower, there's still a decent amount of damage he can do. And with a lucky roll here or there, you can wipe out a unit before I get a chance to heal it. So, I mean, nothing. It didn't happen this turn necessarily. Anything that died from being shot got shot multiple times. I just didn't have enough heal to get around to everybody who needed it. I think it was just one Earth Elemental regiment that got shot for 2 turns, basically, with Alchemist's Curse and a bunch of lightning. And that's reasonable. But because I don't have any ranged, I can't really, it's hard for me to counter characters. His guy just rides up and starts shooting Alchemist's Curse at me. I could maybe try to move forward and surge into him, but I mean, the Earth Elemental regiment's not going to do a lot of damage to a character. And if they go that far forward, they're going to be exposed and may get wiped out and be unsupported. So maybe putting in some greater fire elementals will help a little bit because they can move forward and breathe fireball on people. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's something to kind of dissuade characters from riding up. Other than that, though, game went pretty well. I learned a lot. Need to make some adjustments, and we'll try for a slightly more punchy elemental army my next go around, and we'll see if it's improved or not. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think, and let me know if there's any. Oh, yeah, let me know if you're tracking my concerns on some of those charges, because again, multi-charges with flanks and units that overlap and things, I don't know, it bugs me a little bit because I want to play things correctly, but sometimes it's unclear. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.